Howdy guys, how you doing? Me again, back again. You know, every young man probably grows up in his innocence, as I did, thinking that women are attracted by love, by a man's body, by sex, you know, the desire to have sex, you know, and then they probably grow up thinking this is what attracts women. I think that's because that's what attracts men. Men are attracted by love and by sex and by women's body, and they kind of assume in their youth that that's what women are attracted to. Well, certainly women are attracted to men's bodies, if they're a nice body, I guess. Certainly women like sex, and certainly women like love. But I'm here to tell you, what women really like is power. What really makes a woman moist for a man is power. I'll tell a few stories about that to illustrate what I mean. When I was a young man, I had young friends who liked to go out to bars and things and drink and stuff. And we used to have at that time in my town some dance clubs where they had live bands. That's kind of died out now for the most part. And one time I was out with a friend, and he had this scuzzy little cheap-ass garage band, basically, playing at this little club. It was a small bar, basically, a very small dance floor, really tiny. And I noticed there were 3 or 4 good-looking women standing in front of the band, just going, poking their little tits out, you know. I was like, what in the hell? These are local girls. I'm like, there's, 50 men in this bar who would love to date them and have sex with them. Decent guys, regular guys. But no, they're standing in front of the band, and every time the band would break, they'd go over to the band members and, taki, gush all over them and stuff. I'm like, this is a cheap-ass garage band. And it really pissed me off. It irritated me. I didn't know why. Then later on in life, I realized that women like power. And in particular, they like money. Because money is the major power in this country. Maybe worldwide. Money makes the world go around, and money is power, quite frankly. Look at Tony Soprano, the character, not the actor James Gandolfini. Long may he rave. If there's an afterlife, I hope he's enjoying it. Sad about him dying. But here is a fat, disgusting guy, basically, and not a handsome guy, who's balding. And yet, in the show, he's got women coming out of his ears. I mean, he can get hot, young girls anytime he wants, pretty much. They're all gushing over him, If you watch the show much, you know what I mean. I mean, on a regular basis, women are wanting to bang Tony, you know what I'm saying? He's not good looking. He's balding. He's certainly kind of a grouchy old bastard, to say the least, much like myself. And he's fat. He's out of shape. What the hell's going on? Well, he's powerful. He's very powerful. He controls other men. He has lots of money. And he's a killer. He's powerful. Even women who watch that show probably get moist from that character, even though it's not a real person. And that's just the way it is. Power. Women are turned on by power. Give another example of this in my life, which I witnessed straight up, which was just amazing. I had to go to the hardware store one time back in the 80s. And this was, I believe, after the show Magnum P.I. had been canceled. It was over. But I go to the hardware store, and he used to have this big kind of square counter that was like a service desk, but you could also buy things that pay for stuff. And they had regular tills as well. But at the service desk, I walk up to pay for my stuff because I had like one thing, like some nuts and bolts or something I was doing the project. And there's this short little guy there. He's filthy dirty. He smelled of putrid body odor, this guy. He's short. He's about 5'5", 5'6", maybe, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't fat, but he's just a short little guy, not particularly good looking. And these two young, he was probably 30 years old. These two young, extremely hot checkers were standing there talking to him. And I noticed the one especially, both of them were like poking their tits out. I don't know if you know this stuff, but women will just subconsciously just poke their tits at a man they're really attracted to. They'll do that. They don't know they're doing it, but they'll do that sometimes. And these girls were doing that. And they were just all, hi, and they're close to him. One was standing like real close to him, talking to him, fairly close. The other was behind the counter still. But they were just both just, I mean, I'm waiting to pay for my nuts and bolts, and these two women are just like, you know, they don't, I mean, I'm invisible. They don't want to talk to me. Even though at the time I was very thin and very good shape, and I was very good looking. I'm better looking than this guy, taller than this guy, tall, dark, and handsome than I used to be, not as I am now. I look more like Tony Soprano without the power and the money. And actually smelled. He was wearing crappy clothes that had paint and filth all over him, working on something, doing painting or something. And then I noticed this car right in front of that counter on the outside. That counter was right by the front big glass windows, and there was this car parked there. And it was a red Ferrari 308 GTS, just like Magnum PI's. And I just stood there, kind of listening to the conversation because I couldn't help it. I was right behind the guy, waiting, you know, getting in line, or actually next to him a little bit and behind him. It was clear that was his car. And these women were just gushing all over him. You know, this smelly, I mean, he smelled, not just like healthy workouts, he smelled like he hadn't had a shower in 3 days. And yet, boy, they were all with this guy. That car displayed money and power. You know the story. Back later on after that time, a year or two later, I've always liked nice cars. I've always had nice cars till now. And at that time I was restoring a 67 Jaguar XKE convertible. Put all my money into it. I wasn't a rich guy, didn't have a lot of money, but I put all my money into that car. And there was a friend of mine, actually a man from Germany, an acquaintance of mine, who also had like a 63 Jaguar XKE convertible. And one day we were out running around together, but in separate cars. We kind of out driving around, talking, we'd stop different places. We drove by a grocery store here in town, and there was this really, I mean, I'm talking penthouse hot, blonde, 20-something, 21, 22-year-old babe, out in front selling flowers. That went on for a while in my town. So I told my friend, I told Helgi, I said, let's pull over there. And you could talk to that girl, because he was single, I wasn't. Let's talk to that girl. So we pull up in our Jags, and they're rare where I live, that kind of car. And we walk up and start talking to her. And I mean, it was so easy. Because within seconds she was saying, well, I'm going to be off in just a few minutes here, you know, and I don't know, I think Helgi said, or I said, well, would you like to, you know, go have a drink? I had no intention of cheating, but for Helgi's sake, you know, I was trying to be a good wingman. And oh yeah. And then she says, in fact, I'll call my girlfriend. So she calls her equally hot college girlfriend. And I don't know if Helgi went and picked her up or what happened, but I ended up taking the one girl in my car, and Helgi took the other girl in his car, and we went somewhere and had drinks. And that was it for me, because I'm not going to cheat. I shouldn't even been doing that, frankly. But again, it was a display of power and money is power in this country. Every man, when they learn this little secret about women, sometimes they learn it when their wife runs off with his rich best friend, or some lawyer or something, or some doctor. Some men learn at other ages. Some men learn it in high school when, you know, all the girls are going after the football players. Again, another kind of power. Some men get very angry about this, and I suggest you don't get angry about this. I'm going to talk about that in the next video in this series. But for right now, just understand what makes women moist more than anything in the world, what really attracts them, what really turns them on, what motivates them, is power. Power comes in many forms. We'll talk about that in the next video, and we'll also talk about what to do about all this. Alright guys, hope you're enjoying the series. Hope you're learning something, or just, a lot of you probably are nodding, yeah, I know, Kel, I've been there. Alright guys, we'll talk to you later. Next video.